Hey everyone, Blockchain Bernie here with my Christmas Eve edition. I'm so glad you're here and watching. So, OpenSea, the world's largest NFT marketplace, at least among the largest, currently active, they just did a thing that might be a big hit to the adoption of Web3. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So before that, let's get one thing clear. What is Web3? And you've heard so many things like, man, people can't even define what Web3 is. To me, the definition is quite clear, and I feel like, what's going on the web and everywhere, it's like smoke and mirrors about we don't know what Web3 is. And, of course, everything is hard to, pinpoint definition wise, but in the end, it's quite clear to me, at least. Here's my view. Web 2 means, we have a client server architecture, right? Web 2, the web as we know it, we have clients, which are, your PCs here. You have a browser on there, right? So you use that browser and then it's going to be served, the content that you see on the browser is going to be produced and stored on servers, right? And with Web3, these servers are 100% centrally controlled, right? And I say controlled because, so many things claim to be decentralized. And they might be decentralized geographically, right? And there's cloud computing, and Cloudflare is a big thing, and Cloudflare is a great thing, by the way. I'm a big fan of it. But all of that is centrally controlled. It's one single corporation that controls all their servers. And they can shut them down, they can shut people out, they can censor content, they can, tamper with stuff. And, and basically they can, take your keys and they can, go bankrupt and they can defraud you and everything, right? So Web 2, everything's centrally controlled. So with Web 3, it's very easy, right? That central server that we have in all of Web 2 is just going to be replaced by a blockchain that has decentralized control, right? And decentralized control means there is not one single entity that can turn it on and turn it off. There is hundreds or thousands of validators that witness what's going on. So you would need some, majority of, and it depends on the blockchain, but you need some majority to tamper with anything, to block anything. So we have not only decentralization in Web3, we have decentralized control. We have ownership by the users. We have tamper-proofness, and we have, all sorts of these things. So that's the definition of Web3. And will Web3 be a thing? Is there a need for these servers to be decentralized? Well, frankly, nobody knows the answer, right? But one thing is sure, and we do know the answer. The world is going to do this experiment, right? It is already doing that experiment. There is Helium, which is a decentralized whatever, Verizon or something, right? It's there. It has millions of people adopting it, right? We have Hive Mapper, which is a decentralized version of Google Maps. You can buy their dash cams and, drive through your neighborhood or wherever and take all these pictures, and they will be stored on the blockchain in a decentralized manner. This experiment, the world has the urge and the need to try this out, right? And it's going to happen, right? And whether it succeeds or no, we will see. And getting back to OpenSea, what they just did is they banned Cuban artists from the OpenSea platform. So Cuban NFT artists are not able to monetize their artwork anymore on the OpenSea platform. And why did they do that? In order to comply with, with embargoes and things like that. And with that, everyone thinks like, oh, Web3 was going to be decentralized and decentralized control, right? So how can they ban someone? Well, OpenSea is not 100% decentralized, right? It's not like a DAO, right? A DAO, decentralized autonomous organization that runs in itself. OpenSea is, in a sense, a centralized organization that can do such things, right? Is it good or bad that they do that? Well, that's obviously, there's no consensus on that. You can, there's different opinions on that one. And if you're like 100% hardcore libertarian, you would say, oh, that's bad. But if you're, more on the progressive end of the spectrum, you would say that's good. And, this all has to evolve, right? And I frankly believe that, we want to find out, right? The world wants to find out, are those decentralized models, blockchain-based Web3 models, do they help us? And I think, they have to evolve. There have to be rules. Most people think like, complete anarchy is not the model that we want, and we don't want to have it in Web3. There's a good amount of people that say, well, we want that complete anarchy, but I think the majority does not think that's good. So we need some rules, right? So then with the Web3 apps and all the DAOs that come with it, there might be some way of regulation that develops over time so that, this DAO only gets the stamp of some governmental or even, world council type of things if it complies with a certain amount of regulations. And we can prove that in the source code of these Web3 DAOs if they comply or if they don't, right? And it's all a big experiment again. So it might come out in the end that, we've tried it all out with Web3 and, decentralized control, and then the world and society as a whole comes to the conclusion, oh, we need to be centralized again. We need to have centralized control. But there might, the very likely outcome is we want decentralized controls and blockchain-based systems, but not 100%, not at any price. We want to have some controls in there so that, not everyone can just do whatever they want, right? And if you look at, and this experiment is not only a technological experiment, it's also a social experiment. It's mostly a social experiment, and it's also a political experiment. So if you think about like several forms of government that evolved over the millennia, right? Most of the time there was like, centralized control that was just grabbed by, kings and emperors and dictators and stuff like that. Things like democracy only evolved, in the last few hundred years. As we all know, maybe there were some experiments before that that are not documented. We don't know. But democracy as we know it is only a few hundred years old. But, it was not like the people do everything and you don't need a government. We've had some of these as well. And, I'm, originally from Germany. There was the Weimar Republic, which was kind of, the people had a lot of power and stuff like that. So there's always going to be all sorts of experiments. But in the end, what came out of it is like, the people elect some sort of delegates, representatives that then have some centralized control for a certain amount of time. So in a sense, it's a hybrid model that came out of history, and it's always being tested, to do we need that much or do we need that much? And that's a very good thing, that it's always being tested and adapted with time. And I think it's obvious the same thing will happen with Web 2 versus Web 3. Everything has their advantages and disadvantages. And, in the end, there needs to be some hybrid model. But, one thing is absolutely sure. We cannot prevent the world and humanity from making these experiments over the next few decades. It's just going to happen. Everything that's built on Web 2 today is going to be rebuilt. Either it is being rebuilt as we speak, or it's going to be rebuilt on Web 3. And things like those happened with OpenSea, banning Cuban artists and stuff like that. We will find solutions for that over time. But the experiments are going to be made, and they have to be made, frankly. And I'm so excited living in these times where society is making these experiments that will have a profound impact on society and on the world, right? And I feel the one thing that Web3 needs to really get mass adoption so that we can make all these experiments is a storage layer, right? Because Web3 means it's not running on a centralized server with centralized control. That one server, or that server farm, or whole set of servers spread over the whole world, they can be as distributed as they want, but in Web3 they have centralized control. So in Web 2 they have centralized control, and in Web 3 they have decentralized control. And with all these apps being rebuilt, we know that all the Web 2 apps, they have a storage layer, right? If you write the server-side code for any web app, Web 2 app, it does a lot of compute, but it mostly does storage, databases. All your data is more important than the compute in Web 2. And it's the same in Web 3. But Web 3 is all about smart contracts. So smart contracts is that, platform that can run decentralized code on many, many hundreds of thousands of validators. But these smart contracts don't have a storage layer as of today. That's why I founded Bitoku. It's the storage layer for smart contracts that we're working on. So please see the link in the description, bitoku.io. Learn all about it. There's a light paper on our website that describes all how it works, and we're in the middle of building it. And please subscribe to this channel, because I will keep you up to date with all the progress that we're making. And it's more or less like a progress log. I'm mostly live streaming 3 times a week. See the schedule down in the description. Give this video a like. I wish you and your loved ones Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and talk to you guys soon.